Intelligence is often seen as a gift, a blessing, a special advantage in life. And in many ways it is. But what most people never talk about are the emotional costs that come with a highly active, highly aware, highly sensitive mind. The world understands the achievements of intelligent people, but rarely the pain behind them. Today, we're going to reveal the 7 emotional burdens that only the highly intelligent truly understand. If you recognize these, you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're simply carrying the emotional weight of a mind that feels, sees, and understands the world too deeply. Let's begin with the first burden, the burden of constant self-awareness. Highly intelligent people don't just think, they observe themselves thinking. They don't just act, they analyze every action. They don't just feel, they question every feeling. This level of introspection creates an emotional double life. One lived outwardly and one lived internally, where every decision is dissected. And while this insight can lead to wisdom, it also leads to overthinking, guilt, hesitation, and emotional exhaustion. The intelligent person struggles not with choices, but with the awareness of the consequences of those choices. This awareness is a burden that never fully quiets. The burden of feeling misunderstood. Most people misunderstand intelligence. They think it's about being good at math, remembering facts, or solving puzzles. But intelligence is also emotional depth, subtle perception, intuitive insight, and sensitivity to nuance. Intelligent people speak differently, think differently, and feel differently. But instead of being recognized for that depth, they're often labeled weird, too intense, too serious, or too quiet. The intelligent person doesn't feel misunderstood because they're dramatic. They feel misunderstood because very few people speak their inner language. And this emotional isolation is a quiet, persistent sorrow. The burden of caring too deeply. People assume intelligent individuals are cold and logical, but in reality, they often feel more deeply than others. They see the hidden suffering in a friend's silence, the insecurity behind someone's anger, the vulnerability behind a sarcastic comment. They care intensely, even when they pretend not to. But caring deeply in a world that rewards emotional detachment is painful. Intelligent people carry the burden of empathy that others don't even notice. They absorb emotional energy from their environment, often without meaning to, and they rarely find someone who can hold their emotional depth in return. The burden of perceiving patterns that hurt. One of the silent superpowers of intelligence is pattern recognition. Intelligent minds see patterns in behavior, motives, relationships, outcomes. They can predict emotional pain long before it arrives. They notice lies, inconsistencies, betrayals, and shifts in energy. But this clarity comes at a cost. When you can see where things are going, emotional disappointments feel unavoidable. You don't just experience pain, you foresee it. You don't just see flaws, you anticipate their consequences. This makes relationships challenging, trust fragile, and emotional safety rare. The intelligent person sees too much to relax, and that awareness becomes a burden. The burden of emotional intensity. Without expression, intelligent people feel emotions strongly, but they often hide them. Not because they want to, but because they've learned that expressing their true emotional depth overwhelms others. They fear being too much, so they become less. They fear being misunderstood, so they stay quiet. They fear being judged, so they appear composed. Over time, this creates emotional compression, a buildup of unspoken truth, unexpressed feeling, and unmet emotional needs. The world sees their calm, but beneath it lies a storm the world never hears. This silent emotional intensity becomes a weight they carry alone. The burden of existential overload. Highly intelligent minds don't just live life, they analyze life itself. They question purpose, identity, morality, meaning, mortality. They wonder why people hurt each other, why society behaves irrationally, why existence feels fragile, temporary, absurd. They grapple with questions most people avoid. What am I really doing here? What is the point of all this? Is this life meaningful or just survival? This existential awareness is not depression, it's cognitive depth. But this depth comes with emotional heaviness. You're always aware of the bigger picture even when you just want to enjoy the moment. The burden of internal expectations. Intelligent people often carry expectations no one else ever placed on them. The expectation to succeed, to improve, to analyze correctly, to never fail, to always understand, to always be composed. These expectations don't come from others, they come from within. Because intelligent people see their own potential, they also see every way they're falling short of it. They're haunted by the gap between who they are and who they believe they could be. This internal pressure creates anxiety, perfectionism, and a feeling of emotional inadequacy. It's not that they're failing, it's that their vision is wider than their humanity. Now, here's the part most people never hear. These emotional burdens are not signs of weakness. They are the shadow side of a mind that is alive, awake, perceptive, and emotionally intelligent. They are the cost of depth, the cost of awareness, the cost of carrying a mind that refuses to live on the surface. Highly intelligent people suffer emotionally not because they're fragile, but because they're exposed. Because they see too much, because they feel too deeply. Because their inner world is rich, complex, and intensely sensitive. If you recognize these 7 burdens, understand this. You are not alone. And more importantly, there is nothing wrong with you. Your emotional sensitivity is not a flaw. It is the emotional intelligence behind your intellectual intelligence. Your pain means you are alive, awake, connected, human. The world may never fully understand the emotional burdens you carry. But perhaps for the first time, you understand them yourself. And that awareness is the beginning of freedom.